Hey guys, welcome in. In this video, we are going to dive into one of Franz Schubert's greatest pieces, the Big B-flat Piano Sonata. Now, if you've never heard this piece before, you are really in for a treat. But even if you have heard it before, I really hope by the end of this video, you're going to be able to hear it again with fresh ears, having a little more understanding of what Schubert's doing with the keys, some of the cool motives that keep coming back in the structure of the piece that maybe by the end of this video, you'll listen to it again, just feel like you're hearing a brand new composition. And before we talk about too many details, I'm going to play a little of this for you first. And that is our first shocker. Well, really our second shocker, but that's our first big shocker. This thing has just been moving along so beautifully. Everything is just gorgeous, rolling off the fingers, heavenly melody. I mean, this really is a heavenly Schubert melody. And then we just get this little, I like to call this compositional problems. I mean, just not me, I didn't make up the word, but this is a compositional problem that Schubert's introduced. The piece is just rolling along, nothing is too complicated, nothing's too heavy yet. Then there's like, ooh, a composer's not just going to do that and then never bring it back again. So I want you to kind of tune your ear for when this shows up, because it will show up again. And one of the challenges of this piece is how Schubert's going to fit that into what we just now heard. Now, there is another small compositional thing Schubert's already done, and that's measure 2. We've heard this gorgeous, and then it just sounds like a missed note. I mean, I know Schubert wasn't the best piano player in the world, but right off the bat, the audience is thinking, oh man, this piano player is having a rough night tonight. We're on measure 2 and they already missed that. But again, compositional problem. It'll come back more later. Yeah. And then now, two cool things I want to point out there. The first one, you already know. We've already reintroduced our little creepy, like, what's he doing? We keep trying to return to this heavenly, peaceful melody, and this creepy bass rumble keeps showing up. But the other thing is this key change. Schubert goes from the key of B flat to the key of G flat major. Now, if you've studied Schubert before, maybe you studied some Schubert in college, or maybe you've never really talked about key changes like this and you know nothing. Either way, I'm going to kind of simplify it for you. Schubert likes to do key changes by third. But we have to ask ourselves why, and the answer is actually really practical. So maybe you didn't know this, but fun fact, once you know this fact, it's very obvious. But every note on the piano, let's just talk about the note C. Every note on the piano has 3 major chords that harmonize it easily. Now, it's obviously added notes and all that stuff, but 3 easy harmony chords. So we got a C major chord, obviously has a C in it. Now, if our melody stays on C, we want a different major chord. We could play F, because F is FAC, also has a C in it. If we wanted another major chord, A flat also has a C in it. So that kind of makes sense. There's 3 notes in a chord. And so there are 3 chords that contain each key. Well, let's roll this back to the Schubert here. So we have a B flat. And Schubert keeps harmonizing those B flats with the B flat chord because the piece is in the key of B flat, because it's called sonata in B flat. He wants to change into a new harmony, he could do E flat. But the thing is, E flat isn't really a key change. Our only other option to reharmonize this with a major chord, again, easily, I know there are added note chords, but easy chord would be a G flat chord. Which, if we were paying attention earlier, that's exactly where we're about to go. But I want to tell you why that's so easy. If you're here, you can just hang out on this note and just switch the harmony. You can do that with any note. You can play in a B flat chord and have an F on top, which is also part of a B flat chord. And I could go to the key of D flat. So B flat easily goes to the key of D flat. And that's why you end up with all these thirds, because lots of those motions actually happen to be thirds. So let's listen to that little moment again. What I want you to hear is how Schubert's going to set it up so you think he's going to do this again. So we're like, oh, here we go again. And we get the new key area. Give that a listen. Restart. Nope, new key. We're not going to get into too many details with all these chords. I just want to point out that Schubert's using a lot of 1s and 4 chords. 1s and 4 chords. Lots of G flat and C flat. Back to G flat. Back to C flat. Now there are other chords in there, but lots of 1s and 4s. 1s and 4s. G flat, C flat, G flat, C flat. 4. 1. 4. And we are only not even 2 minutes into the piece. We already had our first amazing romantic, just swell, glorious moment here. And how Schubert does it is really cool. If you've been around the channel before, we often talk about these chords. If you haven't been around the channel before, you're about to find out what they are. So we got a G flat chord here. If we made this G flat 7, we'd have G flat, B flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, D flat. We need to add a 7th on top. And if it's a dominant 7th chord, that note would be F flat. And that chord would resolve actually to a C flat chord or B chord if you want to respell it to sharps. And that's not an uncommon chord. I mean, dominant 7th chord might be like they're definitely our most common 7th chord in music. But Schubert wrote this E natural. And you might think that's just another one of those typos. It's funny that's the same E natural we had earlier. By the way, neither one's a typo, but you might think, oh, he's just respelling F flat to E natural. No, there's a really good reason for this chord. This is the way you're supposed to spell this chord because it doesn't do this. It doesn't resolve like a 7th. G to E is an augmented, well, it's a 6, and then G flat to E natural is an augmented 6. And augmented 6, augmented intervals in general, want to push outwards away from each other. So if you have a G flat and you have an E natural, they want to press away from each other and end up on F octave. So if you think of an F octave, how close can you get to F without touching it? Well, G flat's the very next note. What about on top? E natural is the very next lower note. If you play those notes and then they spread out, it's a very powerful moment. This is exactly what these chords are supposed to do. They're supposed to go from the augmented 6 chord, resolve out to an octave onto the 5 chord, which is an F. And now this is kind of tricky because it really goes to a B flat chord. But the 5 is in the bass, so it sort of substitutes for it. But this is a great, great, great moment. But you also see at measure 37, the wrong note has not been fixed yet. It's still an extremely crashy note. Now, this is a really beautiful section. I just want to draw your attention to the key that we're in for just a second. It's pretty obvious F sharp minor. I mean, all those notes basically on the F sharp minor. And then measure 51 is all C sharp 7, which is just a 5 chord of F sharp minor. So we have to ask ourselves, why are we in F sharp minor? Like, that's pretty distant from the key of B flat. B flat has 2 flats, F sharp minor has 3 sharps, but it's actually not that far away because we were just in the key of G flat. The key of G flat, relative minor, is F sharp. Sorry, parallel minor. Parallel minor is F sharp minor. G flat major, F sharp minor. We switch it from G flat to F sharp because it would be so many flats. To call it the key of G flat minor would take 9 flats. So Schubert just respells the F sharp minor. But yeah, we're just in the parallel minor of the key we were just in a second ago. It just happened the key we were in a second ago was already the key of G flat, which is flat 6. But it kind of makes sense, right? We were just in the key of G flat. Now we're in the key of G flat minor. Schubert respells it to F sharp minor to save you a lot of stress and agony trying to read 9 flats. So I want to point out right there, just a moment that will become important later. We had just a second where we resolved to an A chord. More on that later. I want to point this out real quick because this section and the next one's kind of interesting. It really rides back and forth between F chords and B flat chords. The key of F makes a lot of sense because we're starting the key of B flat. We really expect pieces to end up in the key of 5 at some point, and here we are. 1, 4, 1. Now, this is kind of a big moment because we're really kind of wondering, is Schubert going to end the first section with just a normal F chord, 5 chord to 1 in the key of F, which would be a C to an F. So we're looking for a C7 going to an F chord. That's how sonatas are supposed to end the exposition. The exposition should end in the key of 5, B flat, C, D, E flat, F. That's the key of 5. We should go 5-1, the key of 5. But he's playing around with all these key areas. It's going to get worse in a second, but you can hear him just experimenting like crazy. We're really wondering, are we going to get an end in the key of F? No? Maybe. 4. Five, 1. So cool, we did get to end the exposition in the key of F. Now we have to start our development section. And development sections are where composers really start messing with the key. They start developing the themes from the first section. Crazy stuff is supposed to happen. And eventually we are waiting on pins and needles for the moment when this comes back. Like, it's got to come back at some point. So Schubert is going to build drama, build intensity until that moment. Now, when the development section first starts, he actually develops our original theme. Except he's going to develop it in minor. So check this out. So sad. C sharp minor. Schubert really pulls out so many stops right here. So at 127, we're in C sharp minor. We get a Neapolitan chord. Neapolitan chords are flat 2 chords. They need to go to 5 chords. They're extremely intense dark chord. It's got to go to 5, and it does, and he resolves the 5 chord to a Neapolitan chord again. Now, this isn't as crazy as maybe you think, because it's almost like he's going Neapolitan, 5, we need to get to a 1 chord, and he goes, let's do it again. So it's not that necessarily the 5 chord resolves to a Neapolitan, it's that he more goes chop, try again. He stops the progression in his tracks, and he starts over. We're in the key of C sharp minor. We get Neapolitan, and we get 5, no, Neapolitan again. But then, okay, here we go. This is for real. And he resolves this deceptively. 5 chords should go to 1 chords. The C sharp or G sharp needs to go down to there. Instead, he goes up by half step, which is a thing called deceptive cadence, to the key of A major. Now, I pointed out a while ago, hey, A major, pay attention to that because it'll come back. Well, here we are. We're now in the key of A major. And then, by the way, this is just a deceptive move, but the key of C sharp and A major is another key area that's related by thirds. So the end of this development section, what I really want you to try to hone your ear in on is just this wandering tune, because this little tiny motive. Try to next time listen to this piece, track where that's bouncing all around you. Back to the right hand, back to the left hand, back to the left hand, back to the right hand. Ooh, what's this? Such a gorgeous moment. I want trying to keep it all together for you guys, but this is beautiful stuff. Our original tune back in minor. Now we're not back to thinking of the piece yet, but we're in minor original tune. Now this is really, really clever because it's our original melody in the original key. This could be our return. Now the spacing is very different, the left hand being high and the right hand being high, but that could happen. It's possible that our original tune has now returned in this weird place. It's not. We're going to hear the real return in a second. But when you hear that, you're like, oh, it's so heavenly. You're like, is this it? Is that how we're going to get back? Is this what we've been waiting for? Did we just sneak back into the beginning like that? That'd be clever. It could be crazy. That'd be crazy if it was, but let's keep listening. That guy. I wanted to point out here that lots of the last 2 lines were F7 chords. We went to this one, but then back to an F7. And F7 is our key chord. The F7 is a chord we're trying to get to that then takes us back to B flat, because F7 is the 5 chord of B flat. And we're waiting for that. And then we end on this creepy roll again that keeps coming back. It ends on F though. Then listen to what happens next. And that's the end of the piece. It's not, but could you imagine if that was really the end of the piece? Go home, guys. That's it. Now this is what really happens. What? And this is our original melody. Notice the 1 E natural is now making you believe that maybe it wasn't a mistake this whole time. Maybe the E natural is here to stay because it was there at the beginning. It's here at the return even. Also, I want you to notice how this creepy at first was such a disturbance to the beautiful thing Schubert was doing. Schubert was playing this beautiful melody. Then out of nowhere, what that doesn't belong. Then you get to the beautiful melody. And then, what's going on? Isn't it funny how the final time that's brought back at the end of the development section, it's like Stockholm Syndrome. We're like, oh, I've always liked that little bass melody. It makes me know, it lets me know that we're almost home. It's almost like a signal of returning to the beginning. After this creepy roll, then you hold out for a while. We're now expecting the beginning. It's so clever. The thing that originally disturbed the tune, now we're like counting on to signal the return of the same melody. Okay, but now we are in recap world. So Schubert is going to recap what he did at the beginning, the exposition, except in the moments he doesn't. Check it out. One of the interesting things about all sonatas is you're wondering, at what point is this sonata going to derail from what we heard the first time through? And so far, we went through the same trick of going to flat 6 by using the B flat note. All the same. Ooh. So earlier we got a plain G flat for a while, then we ended the section. Then that next section started in F sharp minor. We had the little discussion about F sharp minor is the parallel minor to G flat major. Well, this time Schubert doesn't wait around. He goes right from our G flat major section directly into the F sharp minor section. So you can say, boom, there's your parallel minor right there. G flat minor. So what key is this? And does it sound familiar to us at all? This is the key of A major. I've just mentioned a few times we've returned to the key of A major. What can happen sometimes when you listen to romantic music? We go through so many key areas, and they're not always as simple as maybe early classical. We were like, oh, 1, 5, 1, 5. We went to 4, we went to 6 once. Okay, cool. Or 1 and the key of 5. Start the development, some crazy key for 2 measures, and then go back to 5 and then 1, then stay in 1. In romantic music, sometimes you can almost shut your brain off and just say, oh, we're just going to a lot of key areas. Almost like they're just pulling them out of a hat and going, G flat major, and they pull another one out of a hat and go, looks like we're going to D minor, folks. Now, the development section did go to a ton of different keys, and we did not get into all of them, but notice some of these regular friends coming back. B flat major, obviously we're in the key of B flat major. F, that's the key of 5. But beyond those two standard ones, we keep going back to G flat, G flat minor, or as Schubert spells it, F sharp minor. That's really important. We also keep going back to A. A is sometimes a 7 chord. He really hangs on this A being the 7 chord, or sometimes like this, we just been the key of A major. That's been a common recurring key in this piece. That is so cool. That is so cool. That makes me so happy. So he goes A major. We're in the key of A major. We're not A7, but A major. We keep doing the 4 chord. Back to A major. Back to the 4 chord. Back to A major. Then we get A7. Not shocking yet. We just add a 7 to the chord. A7 should go to D. Now remember earlier, the parallel section, I'll put it up on the screen right here. When we did this, we went to the key of G flat. Then we added the augment 7. And then resolved it. I just realized my piano is touching my microphone. That's why it keeps shaking. It's taking me this entire video to put those two things together. When I do this, why my mic is falling, but they're bumping each other. Okay, earlier, when this happened, it resolved out to the F octave, and F was the 5 of B flat. So our ear might lead us to believe that this A is an A7 chord, but no, it's actually not an A7 chord. It's actually an A augment 6 chord, a German augment 6, and this is going to resolve out to an octave. So maybe, just maybe, we're going to go to the key of D flat major, because that's what he did earlier. Earlier we were in a different key, but we made the chord into a German augment 6 chord. It resolved out, it pushed outward, it's an augment 6 chord. It resolved out to an octave, and that octave was the 5 of the new key. So A7 could really be respelled as an A augment 6 chord, resolve out to an A flat octave, which would be the 5 chord of D flat. But instead, Schubert said, remember that deceptive cadence earlier where we went 5 and instead of 5 going to 1? This isn't an A. This is not an A chord respelled as a German augmented 6 chord. It's actually an A7 chord. Well, A7 should go to D. That would be another place to go. However, he's like, no, I'm going to do what I did earlier where I took the 7 chord to a really strong deceptive cadence and then just went to that key, went to the key of flat 6. Well, stay with me here. The key of A is the 5 chord of D, but if it resolves deceptively to the flat 6 of D, we get to B flat. So A7 resolving deceptively up a half step takes us to our original key. So Schubert is pulling out all the stops. I'm going to play that moment again because the first time you hear that, it's such a shocker to the ear because Schubert has taught us it's going to go somewhere else, but then it doesn't go there. It goes to B flat. Here we go. Notice that all is right with the world, except we still have that E natural in there that will not go away. And just like earlier with all this wandering, we're kind of thinking, okay, when are we going to get back to our original key and get a good big fat cadence, 5-1 in the original key? Just like earlier during this section, we were like, when are we going to get a C to an F in the key of 5? Now we want an F7 to a B flat in the key of 1 and end the piece. Really harsh. That really harsh chord is just trying to take us to a C minor chord. C minor is a 2 chord in B flat. So even though it's really harsh because there's that A flat, it's not really a weird chord. We're trying to get to a strong 2 chord. C minor is good because that helps us get to a 5 chord to a 1 chord. So he doesn't have to do this, but what is one more compositional problem that we never solved? The very beginning of the piece, we introduced 2, the low rumbling note. And we did make that feel like home. It returned. It actually made us bring back the original melody, which was awesome. But we've never solved our E natural until right now. It's gone. Let's listen to that again. Notice that we're going to do the original tune pretty close. No E natural. No E natural. Check this out. We're home. And that's how Schubert chooses to work out his original compositional problems. One of them ended up not being a problem at all. Like that rolling bass trill actually turns out to be our friend. It's an ally in the end. But the E natural does finally get kind of solved away. Thanks for watching. Take a second if you enjoy this big dive into a piece. It does take a while to do and edit and record. So please take a second, comment down below, share with a friend. Sharing with a friend is an awesome way to really help the channel grow. Obviously subscribe and see all the new videos. You haven't done that yet too. So thanks for watching. See you guys next video.